Welcome to Talking Halo. This is Derek Ciapola with my co-host, my partners in crime, Nate Green, our negative Nate, and Jared Timms. We're here to talk about some Angels baseball. Right away, Angels lose 2 out of 3 in Houston. They fall to 37 and 40. Interesting series, guys. I'm gonna start with you, Nate. Your first thoughts.
There were some really good things about this series. Christian Moore looked a little bit more comfortable. First home series for him. Logan O'Hoppe finally got a hit, which is huge.
Oh,
I think it's been like 3 weeks since he's got a hit. It feels like. Um, I Soriano continued to build on another good start. I think that's three really really good starts in a row. Not walking guys and just attacking the strike zone and getting swings and misses. So it obviously we know we're not as good as Houston right now. We know Houston's way more prepared than us. We know a lot of things, but the Angels were able to continue to make steps in the right direction, and that's all that they can continue to do this year because like Jared and I have said this whole year, like they're not a playoff team. Derek, you agree? They're not a playoff
mhm.
team. They're not close to being a playoff team. So all we can see is improvement, and we see little things happening every week. So um, I think it was kind of to be expected the way that resulted, but there were some good things.
Jared.
Nate, I'm super proud of you for saying, positive things. Um, I mean, you had him getting swept, but yeah, I know. It's a step in the right direction development wise. Like I didn't think even this last game, like they probably should have won this last game, game three of the series, in my opinion. And I said this was going to be one of those high scoring affairs. And they probably should have won it. But just like the fact that they were able to stay in it, get a big hit off of one of the best closers, if not the best closer in baseball. A couple big hits. Shanaway had the double, almost tied it up there. Mike Trout ended up hitting the ball hard there to finish the game off. But like they they hung in there against Hunter Brown. Like I mean, it was huge for Neto to kind of have a little edge, get a little chippy there. I know that some people were like, "Well, he got a little hot-headed," and he even said he got hot-headed when the bench is cleared and stuff like that. But it was great to see Christian Moore be the first guy out there. I mean, you start gaining respect from your teammates that way, and I'll say this: it's something that we haven't seen in Nate. You and I preached about this for years about no leadership in the clubhouse, not being really like a team or anything like that, and I feel like you're kind of seeing steps in the right direction towards a team being built. Like you have a young core group of guys that are playing decently well, that are competing in games. Like they didn't get blown out in either one of these games. So I'm very intrigued as to this Boston Red Sox series because they're gonna have to face a couple pretty good pitchers. Probably the Cy Young candidate and Garrett Crochet. Walker Buehler's not having a great year, but I mean he's been a very good pitcher in the past and can be a very good pitcher. So it's going to be a fun series to see them actually get a legitimate pitcher. They saw Hunter Brown, I know that, but it would have been interesting to see them face a guy like Framber Valdez or somebody like that in this series to see how they really match up against probably the best pitcher in the Astros organization. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of good things to take away from it, and I think if they continue to play like this, definitely a step in the right direction. I think when we're talking about it, come August, September, at the end of the year, we're kind of happy with what the Angels did this year, even if they didn't make the playoffs. And things could definitely change. I mean, I think a month ago we were talking about them losing eight in a row and looking like one of the worst teams in baseball. So right now they're playing good baseball. They didn't win this series, unfortunately, but they're playing good baseball, it feels like, especially coming off the Yankee series.
You look at all the underlying numbers for the Angels, they're not good. Run differential, you name it. This should be a much worse team than they are, but yet they're in it. And they're in most games. They're rarely blown out. They did the blowout this weekend. They had the 9-1 win over Houston game too. To me, that's progress. There's a greatness to them that wasn't there last year. They just kind of rolled over in the last couple of years. And I know Ron Washington's not going to be around next year. I think we all are saying that and believe that. I don't think he's going to be around next year. But his staff's done a good enough job that these guys are competitive. The players have done a good enough job, they're competitive. And so I'm liking that growth. And even if Go on to lose 85, 90 games this year. I don't expect them just to roll over and lose those 85, 90 games. What they've shown us is that they're gonna come out every game and give it whatever they got. So that's a good thing to look forward to. You're not looking at a team like Colorado who's just is completely destroyed, annihilated in every way that sense of imagination, and there's no hope. Like there's actually hope for the Angels if the front office can get things right. There's a lot of hope here underneath all the garbage. There's a lot of hope. So I think we saw it in this series. This series was competitive with the game two blowout for the Angels.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we saw chippy baseball. I mean, if after that first game, it kind of felt like playoff baseball in a sense. Like I know that it's not playoff baseball by any means, but it felt that's kind of the feeling that you get. It felt like the crowd was in it a little bit more. You heard the crowd boo Jose Altuve a little bit. It felt like a little bit more. It felt like it was a little bit louder. Even in that first game, they throw inside on. They hit Mike Trout in the hand, and it's like, man, I said it on Twitter on X. I was like, man, you either eject him or you need to go ahead and retaliate because you can't. The report is to throw in on Trout, but once you've already had what happened earlier in that game, like you need to take umpires need to take control of this game or else it's going to get out of hand. I thought the Angels were actually going to go ahead and come back and retaliate in that game too when they were up 9-1. But I mean, it's something to keep an eye on in the future. I mean, Neto. Neto's a little bit of a hothead for sure, but it's a good thing. Like I'm happy about it. Like the Angels didn't have anything like this for years, and all of a sudden now it's like, okay, they got a little chip on their shoulder. They have an edge. It's kind of fun.
Should they have retaliated, Nate?
I mean, the game polices the game. I think that if they're going to, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. They're competitive enough where um, it's not out of question to do. Like if the Rockies and the Dodgers had a little bit of a spout and the Rockies got pissed off and go and hit Shohei Ohtani in the wrist or something like that, you'd be like, come on, come on. You guys have won 12 games this year. Relax. But the Angels have been competitive enough to be able to if they feel that they're getting unfairly treated, they're in a spot to be able to hit somebody if they wanted to.
All right. So what about you, Jared? Retaliate or not?
Yeah, I'm all for it. That's just kind of the edge that I bring to it. I don't necessarily look for it, but I thought the series before I saw Anthony Volpe slide in hard on Zach Neto on a play that it was like, dude, Volpe, that's a stupid play. Like, what are you even doing? Like, you're gonna get hit at some point. And I know it's not the game that gets played anymore, but when you have like you look at the Dodger Padres game, like those two teams hate each other, absolutely hate each other. It's not just the fan bases that hate each other; the teams absolutely hate each other too. Like, there's no love between those two teams. I'm sure there are some guys that they're friends and everything, but when they get on the field, they absolutely hate each other. And I think that's fun part of the game that's starting to get missed a little bit. Like we don't have that Yankee Red Sox rivalry that we had in the early 2000s or anything like that. It's Dodgers Padres, and then you get the little bit here and there, but it felt like the NL Central was fighting everybody at one point. Like Pirates were fighting everybody. So yeah, I thought that again, you didn't necessarily hit Neto, but I mean, you come up and in on him, you get hit in the wrist. There's a chance to hurt him. And then the report is 100% to pitch in on Trout. But if you can't pitch inside, you're going to hit a guy, then don't pitch inside. And it definitely wasn't on purpose. But again, you have to defend your best player, your most loyal player, the guy who's been there, through some of the worst years in Angels baseball. Like you got to defend him. So I would have definitely gone out there and been like, yeah, we're hitting Altuve, or yeah, we're hitting a dude. I know that Soriano got under a couple split fingers and threw up and in on him, but Soriano's probably the right guy to go ahead and plunk Altuve. And I know this is weird conversation to be having, but I believe in that stuff. I do. I think you definitely gotta have your guys back a little bit.
I don't know that it's a weird conversation to have as far as what baseball has been. I agree, but I don't think it should have been in the game. If they're going to do it, you do it in game two. You don't do it in game three. By then, you've already let the moment pass. And at that point in time, you're Mike Trout's a guy who's been in the IL for much of the last 6 years, right? You
Mhm.
want to try and protect this man's health. And how many times this year have we seen players go out? Most recently, the Orioles' Jordan Westburg, hand injury. Like these guys are getting hit in the hands all the time. They lose 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season with a busted hand from getting hit by a pitch. Like that's someone's season. What's the repercussion for that? So. That's part of the game. By the way, I miss some of those 2000s rivalries. The Angels Red Sox was always hot in the 2000s. Angels Dodgers were always hot. Angels Yankees were always hot in the 2000s. Now it's blah, blah. All right, Boston series. Walker Buehler tomorrow against Jack Hanowitz. Nate, call it.
This is actually a really fun matchup because this is two guys that had very similar seasons where they've had one or two really good starts and then, more bad starts than good. Bueller, he has a shot to throw, seven shutty every time out. He's got that good of stuff. Kahanowitz, he's got good stuff. He just hasn't been able to get swings and misses. Um, oh man. I I'm gonna go Bueller just because I'm an anti Kahanowitz guy. I think Kahanowitz shouldn't be in the rotation.
Fair enough. Jared.
You are a Kahanowitz to I am Kyle Hendricks, who will never pick Kyle Hendricks to win a game.
Kyle Hendricks has actually been good
Yeah,
though.
I'm going to continue to do it until he decides to lose a game. Then I'll start saying he's going to win games. But I'm going to go the opposite way. I mean, very similar stats this season. Both guys can. I mean, you said it. Both guys could shove into the seventh inning, eighth, ninth inning for all we know. But I'm going to say Kahanowitz. I feel like he came out last game and pitched decently well. I could totally be wrong. I can't remember what start it was. Oh, it was the start in New York. Yeah,
Yeah.
he pitched pretty well in New York. So I'm going to say he builds off that. I don't think he's going to be as good as Jose Soriano has been because that guy's been absolutely lights out. But I'm gonna say the Angels win game one. I'm gonna say they kind of hit Walker Buehler around a little bit.
I, Bueller's been so volatile this year. Very similar in some ways to how Kahanowitz has had his moments up and moments down. I don't like this overall. Look at how I say it. I have no faith in Jack Hanowitz. Until he proves you wrong, there's more of a track record with Walker Bueller, so I'm going to go with Bueller. I think I honestly think tomorrow's a toss up in terms of the pitching matchup. But if I got to pick somebody, I'm going Red Sox, unfortunately. Game two. Ugh, Tyler Anderson versus Garrett Crochet.
I think we should just all say Red Sox win and move on.
Okay, Jared.
Um, I on the side note really don't want Garrett Crochet to shove because of how many comps he's getting to Liam Doyle from the draft perspective. So like if Perry's sitting there watching Jack or not Hanowitz, Crochet, if he's sitting there watching Crochet at Angel Stadium, absolutely shove. Like that just gives such a foreshadow to the Angels picking Liam Doyle, and I just don't want that to happen. So, with that being said, they're gonna lose, but I just don't want Crochet to absolutely shove because if he absolutely does shove, oh man, it's just gonna be like, well, they should pick Liam Doyle, blah blah blah, because that's what you're gonna get here. So, yeah, I'm
Over under
going for that.
12 punchies for Crochet. 12 and a half. I'll say 12 and a half to be fair.
Punchies. That's a lot,
It's
man. I'm gonna say under. I'm gonna say under just because
Okay.
that's a lot of strikeouts.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
I mean, this is going to be it's going to be a bloodbath turn. The matchup is not good for what the Angels do, which is strike out a lot. They're not great contact wise. They're going to strike out a lot. This is a perfect matchup for Garrett Crochet. So I think 12 is a good guessing point. Red Sox. That's why we're saying Red Sox here, folks. The third game, we don't know yet. Yusei Kikuchi up against we don't know. Don't know. Hunter Dobbins apparently out on the IL, so we'll find out. That's the Achilles heel right now for the Red Sox. That's what's holding them back. They don't. Their pitching staff is not set, and I like this game. I like this game for Kikuchi. I'm going to go with the Angels in this series in this game.
I'm gonna take a guess and say it's Kyle Harrison, recently acquired from
Oh,
San Francisco for Rafael Devers. I think Kikuchi outduels Harrison. The Angels win, but that's gonna be my guess. Is they go Kyle Harrison. This would be a good spot for him to make his Red Sox debut.
I like, I like Kikuchi against almost anybody unless your name's Garrett Crochet in this series. So yeah, I'll take another win there as well. I think the Angels bats stay decently hot and they take two or three this series. They swept them earlier this year,
two.
didn't they?
Now mine.
They take two or three, swept
They
them,
did.
swept them.
They did. By the way, the Kyle Harrison has not pitched more than 5 innings this year in the game.
Nope.
So he was at one point a really highly regarded prospect in the Giants organization. He was a guy when he came up last year for fantasy baseball. A couple years ago, people were picking him up left and right, but the constant concern for him has been his control. And if you look at his numbers this year, control is still an issue. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, couple questions for you guys. You one, this is not on our agenda, but I'm going to throw them because I can. Well, actually, before we do, here's a word from our sponsors. All right, you guys mentioned Liam Doyle. Um, where are we looking at draft wise, guys? Are we still on the same path we were a few weeks ago here, where we're looking at Liam Doyle and Ethan Holiday? How's the feeling right now for what the Angels are going to do? Start with
Insert.
you, Nate.
Oh, there you go, Nate.
It's gonna be everyone is saying the same thing right now, which is very scary because anytime everyone thinks they know what they're doing, anytime everyone thinks they know what the Angels are doing, the Angels do the exact opposite of that. So that's always good. Kate Anderson threw an unbelievable game one for LSU in the World Series. Congrats to LSU for winning the 2025 College World Series championship today. But Anderson looked unbelievable. Mixed it really, really well. Was able to keep his. He threw a complete game shutout. Threw like 120 pitches. It was a masterful performance. He's a guy the Angels could take. We've heard Liam Doyle. We've heard Liam Doyle. We've heard Liam Doyle. Ethan Holiday sounds like he could be pick one. Obviously, with the way Anderson pitched today or yesterday, he could go pick one as well. So there's a lot of different ways the Angels could go about it. Arquette from Oregon State is still a possibility. The Angels could still go high school shortstop, which I think is, I would say, the least likely of all the things that I just mentioned, just because Perry doesn't typically take high school guys in the first round. So obviously that could change. We said that last year. Oh, if the right guy's there, it could change. And Perry stuck with the way he's been doing things. So we'll see, but there's there's really no solidified way this thing's going to go. It's a coin flip pretty much the whole way through.
Jared.
This draft's similar to the 2020 draft where the Angels took Reed Detmers and Garrett Crochet went right after at 11. Now we're talking about 1, 2, 3, and Kate Anderson is Reed Detmers, Garrett Crochet is Liam Doyle type of thing. And that was the 10th and 11th pick, not 1, 2, 3. So, with that being said, don't count them out on anything in particular. You just never know what they're gonna do. With that being said, I mean, I expect them to pick Liam Doyle would be my guess. Kate Anderson, there's definitely a chance. I think that there were some GMs at the College World Series watching the College World Series pitchers, and Kate Anderson throwing complete game shutout like that with 10 strikeouts. I don't think he walked one or two guys maybe. Yeah, I think that definitely helps him. Definitely pitching on the big stage. So
He had 5 walks, but he had 10
yeah, five
punches.
walks. There you
Yeah.
go. So, but yeah, I don't know right now. I really don't. Like we haven't heard much about Arquette of late, and that's usually a sign that like, hey, maybe it will be Arquette because we haven't heard a lot about it. We've seen left-handed pitching, left-handed pitching, left-handed pitching, and that's what the Angels like in this draft is a left-handed pitcher. So just don't count anything out. Maybe an Ethan Holiday, maybe a JoJo Parker, maybe try to swing somebody the second round. We don't quite know yet. I'll just say this: like, don't be upset if the first pick is like a really weird underslot pick either because you have to wait for that second round pick, that third round pick on that day one as well. It could end up being really, really good. You might see someone get pushed back to that second round for the Angels. They have a lot of money to spend.
So, I mean, again, we're kind of rehashing something we've talked about. I'm kind of just checking back in with you guys. A few weeks ago we talked about. I'm just checking who is still your preference though. If it's those guys are there, um, any of those guys are there at number two, who do you want?
I mean, the number one guy on my board is Ethan Holiday. Number two is Seth Hernandez. And then after that, it's maybe or Ava Arquette, somebody like that. So, I mean, if the Angels have a chance to get either Ethan Holiday or Seth Hernandez, those guys become 60 grade prospects for me. The only two 60 grade prospects in this draft. Um, and they become top 100 prospects. They become the Angels' number one prospect. So I would go that way. Just if history repeats itself, Perry hasn't picked a high schooler in the first round at all. So it's hard to say that the Angels. It's like almost impossible. I just don't think it's going to happen that they take a high schooler in the first round. But you never know. That's the way that I'd go. I just think that Ethan Holiday or Seth Hernandez are better than anybody else in this draft, and it's not really even close, to be honest. And I feel like those guys are safer picks. Plus, with Ethan Holiday, you stick him in Arizona where you built that nice $20 million facility for the rest of the year. Then next season you put him in Rocket City, and heck, if he's hitting well in Rocket City because he's got the major league background, then maybe as a 19-year-old you bring him up, and there's your future third baseman come June, July, August of this of 2026. I mean, chance of that happening are slim to none, but that's the way that I would look at it. To put him in a nice $20 million facility in Arizona for the rest of the year, make him work there, then send him right to Rocket City and see how he looks there.
Nate,
I would just like not to see Liam Doyle as the pick, honestly. I want to see I would rather see Cade Anderson. Doyle is not the top pitcher on my board. Arquette would be an interesting guy. He played up the middle for Oregon State. He's been able to play second even with his size. He's been able to play third. Um, there's some comps to Matt Chapman, which that'd be a fine pick here at two. Um, and the Angels, they as much as you don't do this in Major League Baseball draft, the Angels do draft based on need at the Major League level. It is one of the things that they do not like. Most GMs say do not do that because you don't know how long it's going to be before they get to the big leagues. But the Angels have a way of going about business where they just, hey, we need a third baseman right now. Okay, we're going to take Arquette and put him at third base in the bigs like in 2 months. Or hey, we need this position. We're going to put him in the bigs right now. Um, so I would keep an eye on guys that you think the Angels could use. Third baseman would be something. Um, Pitcher is obviously always on the board, and then don't be shocked if there's a center fielder somewhere that they end up taking that they could push quickly.
I mean, my guy is, I said before, is Ethan Holiday. I just know I'm not going to do it. But I'm not going to do it. Like, you guys, but they don't go after high schoolers. And I think, especially with Perry's job in the line, I think we all know his job's in the line. He's not going to do it. But my guy is Ethan Holiday. I'm sticking to it. Sticking to it. All right. Last question of the day before we get out of here. If the Angels were to buy, where would they need to do it? What should they address? Start with Nate first this time.
Yeah, if they're gonna buy, you gotta call Arizona. Arizona's the team that you have to try and get something out of. Merrill Kelly's on the last year of his deal. Zach Gallen's on the last year of his deal. Those are those are two guys on a team that looks like they are going to be selling just because of what happened to Corbin Burns, the way that their season has gone so far. Um, you have to address the starting pitching. The Angels need a guy who can go pitch in a postseason right now because, yeah, Soriano's looked really good as of late. Kikuchi's Kikuchi hasn't won games. Like, and I know that's not a big deal, is winning and losing as a starting pitcher. But when you look at why he hasn't won games, it's because he goes out there and goes 6 innings, gives up 3 runs, and is facing some other team's ace, and the other team's ace is going 7 or 8 and giving up no runs. He's not going to win a game against another team's number one. Maybe he can win against a number two or a number three, sure, but he's not going to win against another team's number one. Not like there are a lot of guys that can go do that right now, but when Gallen is right, he could do that. When Kelly was right, Kelly's been pretty good this year, but when Kelly's right, he has a shot to go beat some number ones. Um, so that's what I think the Angels would need to go do. The offense is going to be continue to be hit or miss. If you're going to buy, you gotta kind of roll the dice a little bit on Rengifo, the ball starting to get down a little bit instead of being caught, and just kind of got to ride with the offense you have, uh, because the Angels don't have a lot of prospects to go get some of these pieces as well. So that makes things hard, but I think Arizona's the team you got to deal with.
Jared.
I went a different direction with this. I didn't really look at 1 year, um, 1 year guys. I looked at guys with control since the Angels have some pitching depth. I mean, you look at Clausen, Dana, those types of guys. Even a Reed Detmers, who we mentioned, like could be on the trade block. Joe Adell, and I looked at teams that are kind of rebuilding that could be good. So just like a couple names that I found right off the bat. I know Jordan Westberg is hurt, but somebody like that where you could maybe go throw a pitcher to Baltimore or something like that. You look at Washington, who might need a little bit of pitching help as well, and Jacob Young in center field would make a little bit of sense. He's got years of control. I don't know if that makes too much sense. Or you go to Colorado and you look at a guy like Jordan Beck, who seems to be a little bit of a late bloomer. He's having a decently good year. Or a guy like Herman Marquez, who has a lot of money attached to him that the Angels might be able to go, put in the rotation, and you wouldn't probably have to be giving up too much for some of those guys. And if you were, it was going to be, maybe a young talent, George Clausen type of guy, or Walbert Urania, those types of guys, because the Angels have, Walbert Urania, Joel Hurtado, those pitchers who are very similar to the Jack Kahanowitzes, the Jose Sorianos that are at the major league level right now, that aren't striking out a lot of guys but have really good stuff that, so I went that direction with it. I don't know, that's the way that I would buy if I were the Angels. I wouldn't be looking to buy those 1 year pieces, just because I don't think like the price tag for a Zach Gallen, or the price tag for uh, somebody like that is going to be sky high, and I don't think the Angels have enough pieces to go do that without completely emptying out the farm system. Though, God, dare I say, 2003, 2023, they did it. So I guess you never know, right? Like at the end of the day, they may end up trading a George Clausen, Samuel Aldeguer, that those types of guys who you see as future pieces for the Angels for 1 year guys that might the Angels might hit with. I hope they don't do it 2023. I really don't. That's why I was looking at it as go get pieces that will help you in 2026 and beyond, not just for 1 year. But if that's the route they go, and all of a sudden the Angels get hot and they decide to kick a playoff spot or a wild card spot, that'd be pretty cool, because the Angels haven't done that in a little while.
I
And
honestly
jo
hate. Go ahead.
and Jordan Westbrook's not going to cost anything.
I'm just saying they need pitching. You could throw a Reed. You could trade Reed Detmers for him straight up, right? Like that. That's my thought in
No,
it.
I
That's my
think
thought.
Baltimore laughs in your face with that.
Probably, but I'm just saying the Angels have the pitching depth to go do that. Well, the Orioles need pitching depth. The Angels need a guy like Jordan Westburg. So, if
He's
you
a
threw a
top
Reed
two
Det
player at his
if you
position
threw if you
when
threw a
healthy. He's
Reed
a
if you
top
threw
two
a
player
Reed
at his
Detmers
position when
if
healthy.
if you threw a Reed Detmers, George Clausen, or somebody like that in the mix, a Joshua Lugo, are you, horribly upset about it? Like, I love Joshua Lugo, but if you can get a Jordan Westburg for Lugo and Reed Detmers, like, it helps in the future down the road. Like, that's the route that I'm thinking. I'm not necessarily saying Jordan Westburg is that guy, but I mean, there's been weird rumors about Adley Rutschman getting traded. Like, the Angels won't be able to afford Adley Rutschman by any means. They probably don't need a catcher. Well, they do need a catcher, but they really don't need a catcher. But that's the type of trade that I'd be looking at if I were the Angels.
They
Is
don't need
is
to, so are you arguing that Logan O'Hoppy's not the guy?
He's not
he
a
needs to be
catcher.
he needs to be a lot better defensively, or you need the ABS. You need there not to be a home plate umpire for Logan. I mean, he's not a good pitch framer. Yeah, that's the route I think the Angels are taking. I think they're trying to wait it out with Logan O'Hoppe. I'd put him in the outfield. I think he's very similar value in the outfield. Plus, you take the pressure off him of trying to learn pitching and things like that. Let him go hit. He might be a 130 WRC plus guy in a corner outfield spot, or everybody's saying third base. I don't see it at third base, but it's easier if you put him in a left field or something like that with Adele and right, with Trout DH. That's my thought. That's my thought.
All right. So I actually hate that you brought this question on the agenda today, because I don't even want it to be a thought. Like, I have 2023 is the year I kind of marked a turn in how I view the Angels, and I was a lot more willing to give them the benefit of the doubt prior to that trade deadline when they went and bought instead of selling. We all knew Otani wasn't coming back. This is even before he got hurt. We knew that wasn't going to be something he would even remotely consider, despite what news reports say. And yet they bought, and it turned out horribly. And the decision making around that was absolutely horrid. And ever since then, the way I view the organization has been much worse. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. I just, you have something started here with your core. Be smart and actually be patient for once and build around it instead of throwing everything away again.
Can you have Artie Moreno and patience in the same sentence together?
He used to be many years ago. It seems like as he's gotten older, he's become less and less patient. But here we go. All right, that's it for us. Follow us on Twitter, Talking Halos. Follow Nate at Nate Green 34. Follow Jared at Jared underscore Tims. Follow me at DC Ciapola. We'll see you probably Wednesday or Thursday as we preview the weekend series. Roddy, have a great one.